Welcome to the Predictive PlayBook. This is a special edition today with 5 professional sports bettors among us. And I'm just going to be the host today, even though I'm a professional bettor that has a 10-unit play going tonight in the NBA, and very excited about that. I had to get that in, guys. Had to get it in. But that's a play that I really, really like. So we're full bore on this one, Tony Finn.
Yeah,
but we have.
I thought are we just now going live? You mean all that information that we just laid out?
We've been live for like the last 10 minutes.
Oh, that's better now. Okay,
the stuff you said about the IRS and everything that was all live. I tried to tell you.
Listen, they don't have to be on your show to hear me. They're listening.
Yeah, Big Brother's there. Yeah, Johnny told me that Big Brother's always listening. Mm-hmm. So welcome to the show, Big Brother. I mean, maybe he's in the chat room.
Yes.
But anyway, we have Ross Benjamin, regular guest, and we have Nick Borrman, regular guest. Mm-hmm. Ross from sportsmemo.com, Nick Borrman, PGA expert and soccer guru, I understand as well, from Wager Talk. So we're going to start, guys, I hate to say it, I like the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. Where else can you have a 50-year-old win a major event? Did I tell you guys about Phil Mickelson?
No.
All I heard about John Daly the whole show last week.
Yes.
Right. Oh, Nick, you'll love this one. Now, tell me if this is true, because I don't have time to research it, but Tony Finn claims
it's true
that he got a bet against head-to-head John Daly plus 34 strokes against Phil Mickelson, and he won.
I did, barely.
Even though Daly didn't make the cut.
Didn't have to.
Phil still beat him by 33 shots.
Is that what the number ended up being, 33? That should be not allowed if he didn't make the cut. I mean, he would have shot 60 over.
Well, there's certain caveats. There are certain caveats and privileges and benefits you get for being stupid enough to bet on John Daly.
Well, here's your picture.
Santa.
Look at that beard.
Billy Gibbons.
What a clothing line.
Oh,
I hope when I get older I can look as good as that.
Mm-hmm. In those shorts, you will.
I wouldn't be caught. Well, they're just not my style. They're not my style. I don't like that style. So anyway, we are Wednesday, halfway through the week, and I know you guys have been on a lot of shows, including the MLB. I saw Tony Finn on that one at Wager Talk. And he looked solid. He wasn't as excited as he is, and he doesn't talk as much as he does on this one.
Yeah,
but he was good. And,
they don't let me. At least you let me. They don't let me. They just cut me off.
Yeah, well,
They tell me, Tony, stay on point. Stay on point. No, that's not. I'm making the story better when I get off point. Trust me.
I've done the machine learning on it from comments in the chat room, and you're 100% right.
Thank you.
The more you talk, the better we feel.
Well, yeah, it should. You should feel a lot better about yourself. The more I talk, it's like watching Shameless. You watch that show, you feel better about yourself. With Tony Finn on a video and he talks, you're going to feel better about yourself.
I feel smarter when I listen to you talk,
exactly.
Tony.
Who was that?
I got to set the bar higher, but you definitely.
Yeah.
I promise not to bring Fetty up in this episode.
Ross is blindly betting him the rest of the year.
I love it.
John Daly was the best pick of them all last week, guys. I got to give it to you. I know nothing about golf, Nick, but they, they were, all in on John Daly last week to make the cut. So,
well, if somebody would have given me odds like Tony Finn was going to give me 1,500 to 1 odds, I would have done it.
You name the odds, whatever you want, I'll give them to you, as long as I see your money first.
We put John Daly up. We did a preview show for the PGA Championship last week, and we put John Daly on the slide as one of the outright plays. So we had legitimate outright plays, and then John Daly was last, and it was blah, 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 stats, blah, 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 stats. John Daly, 2 parts iced tea, 2 parts lemonade, 1 part vodka, 10.95.
I need you to please repeat that recipe. Please repeat that recipe.
That's the official John Daly drink. That's the official protein drink of John Daly.
Yeah. 2 parts what? Lemonade?
It's basically the Arnold Palmer with vodka.
Oh, it's an Arnold Palmer. That's just lemonade. And
Yeah.
Well, it's iced tea. It's half and half.
Iced tea, right? Iced tea and lemonade. Correct.
Well,
But
I think in JD's case, it's 50% vodka, 50%.
that's not enough.
50% of each.
Yeah, I think
Not enough.
That's Tony.
Not
Tony
enough
Finman.
vodka.
I heard that from Joe D'Amico. He's friends with him.
There's a lot of JDs out there.
Oh, that's true.
Could apply that to Johnny, Joe D'Amico.
Oh
Really?
boy.
John
Okay,
Kelly.
I'm listening.
All right, so let's get to the event this week. And PGA Tour now shifts dramatically. Goes to Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas, to play Hogan's Alley. And I'm only going to reference Mr. Finn here to make sure he's paying attention. Ben Hogan was a golfer that played a long time ago, and is a legendary name in the sport of golf. In fact, I had it on the show this morning with Nick. I was sitting in front of the statue of Ben Hogan. That's how much I honored him and what he's done for the game. So when they play at Colonial, it's called Hogan's Alley because it was Hogan's home course, and an alley's pretty narrow, right? So now we have a course that has a lot of trees. It's tight. It's par 70, 7,200 yards compared to Kiowa, which was par 72 and almost 7,900 yards. But there could still be wind because it's in the state of Texas. So as I said this morning, there's nobody else better to tell us what to do with this event and the best ways to make money than Nick. So I'm going to let Nick now tell us a little bit about his handicapping style and how he comes up with his 3 tiers. And in DraftKings, it's definitely a good idea to have those 3 tiers because of the way that golfers are priced. And Phil Mickelson was priced $6,800 last week on DraftKings, and the lowest you can be is $6,000.
So Ben Hogan is famous. He's
Yeah,
famous, right? So
yeah.
does that mean
He has his own golf club line and anything. And
I was going to
everything.
ask you. Well, I have an
Yeah.
old set of irons, about 5 sets. Hogan, I think they're vintage 1970s. I think they're the bounce soles, and I have another set of the Legend 40th edition. Are they worth anything?
Well, Nick would know.
I don't
Nick?
know. They might be. I mean, Hogan. Some of those irons he has were collectibles. You don't have any with wood shafts, do you? Now those would be
Of course.
worth money.
Well, no. The shaft. I have some woods with wood heads.
Okay. The persimmon woods. Now the wood shafts is what you want. I don't know.
No. I do have a set. I do have a set of Hogan vintage 1970s, the irons, and they're the bounce sole 1 pluses, and I have been offered as much as $1,500 for that set. That's not a bunch of money, but I have been offered that. So when the guy offered me that, I went to look them up, and I saw a couple sets of those for sale, and they were online. They were only asking about $1,200, so I probably should have taken the 15, shouldn't I?
Hey, for tomorrow's show, since Joe D'Amico's going to be on it, why don't you send me a picture of some of your clubs? And then he's a sports memorabilia guy, and he might be able to say, oh, I know what this is. And if he doesn't, he doesn't.
You want the clubs, too, with the nails coming out of them that I use for
Woods.
before I grab
Yeah.
women by their hair and drag them to my house? So you want a picture of those clubs, too?
Preferably not, I guess. But if you want to send them along, I can
I'll clean them up.
decide
I'll clean them
whether
up
to show them
first.
or not.
I'll clean them up first.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay,
do that
so
for you. Would you
let's
like
let-
that? How about if I take a picture of the AstroTurf I have from Arrowhead 1994? They pulled it all out and put real grass in, and Montana and Allen signed that for me. I don't have the. I asked them to bleed on it. They wouldn't bleed on it. To prick themselves and put some blood on but they wouldn't do it. Yeah, it was hell. It cost me enough to get them to sign it.
It's amazing you're not
they
more
didn't like
depressed,
me.
Tony.
Huh?
It's amazing you're not more depressed. It really is. Man. It's a tribute. All these disappointments and letdowns.
Do you know who Ewan Kaufman is? Thank him and his pharmaceutical company to keep me happy and smiling. Do you know who Ewan Kaufman is? Do you?
Yeah,
Yes.
they named
Yeah,
the
well-
stadium after him, didn't they?
Royals.
Yeah,
That-
they named
well,
him.
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He
Kansas City
outspent-
Royals.
listen, what's his claim to fame? Truthfully, guys. I know we're getting off track. I'm getting us off track, but we need to air this right now. What is this? What's his 15-minute moment?
Founder of
No, we'll stick to the Royals because I think he founded some other things that we don't want to talk about. But we'll just stick to the Royals.
Okay.
wow. We'll
15
have
minute
to-
moments.
Somebody
He
Google it while
outspent-
Nick
he
gives his
outspent
breakdown of
Steinbrenner. In the 70s when they were really good. He outspent the Yankees. Kaufman did. And he said, I don't care how much money I'm going to lose. I'm beating the effing Yankees.
Must have been
Three
George Brett
years
days.
in a row, 76, 77, 78. A divisional chambliss. Do we remember those years? Probably not.
Yes.
You guys are all too.
Oh,
Yeah, I
I
do.
remember when.
All
I
you
remember that.
babies, you're too young.
Game 5 of the series, Chambliss hit the walk-off. I do remember.
Were
remember
those
the
George
Phillies.
Brett days?
Right in the fountain.
And that was a best of 5 series. So, at
Yeah,
Yankees.
it was. Those were 5-game series. You're right. Hey, Ross is older than me, I think.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
Tony.
all the money
Tony.
Hoffman paid Cookie Rojas, Tone.
Yeah.
The Phillies kicked
Freddie
their ass in
Patek.
1980.
Freddie Patek.
Freddie
The-
Patek.
Nobody could hit a fly ball to the warning track better than Freddie Patek.
That's,
And the
that's
Phillies
where they came up with
Blew
the
them
term,
away in 1980.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Willie Wilson
Tug
struck out
McGraw.
100 times in that 3-game series.
And Tug McGraw struck him out 99 times.
Yeah, he didn't have Pablo Escobar for that series. It was bad Colombian cocaine.
Getting back to
And the
golf.
rest of-
Back
Tell
to
him,
the
Ross.
PGA Tour now. So we're back to Colonial now. Colonial's right down the road from Kansas City, so it's not that far, maybe 300 miles. But Nick, seriously now, in the Colonial, who are the guys on your radar? Start with your top tier and then work your way down.
So yeah, when you're looking at betting, whether you're betting outrights or daily fantasy, you kind of have to. I always like to tier it. You got for daily fantasy guys, you got to get guys that are going to make the cut. That's the most important thing. They got to be there all 4 days. So you can't overspend. And just like on the outright market, you want value. A guy that's 10-1 to win the tournament is not worth betting on. So if you're going to pick one of the favorites, one's okay. And I hate to bet anybody under that 20-1 range, but usually there's one that I'll circle out of. There could be up to 8 or 10 sometimes that are under 21. That's about the number we have this week. But then a lot of where I start to really zone in on is that 30 to 50-1 range, because a lot of winners on the tour, if you look at past winners, kind of come in that range. But we'll start at the top. John, you mentioned this course is shorter and tighter and very small greens. So different skill set needed this week. It's all about keeping it in play. It's not about length. Last week, length was important. Wasn't the most important, but it was a factor. This week, I don't even care. You could be the shortest hitter on tour this week. It doesn't matter if you're long, short, whatever. That doesn't play this week. This one's about keeping it in play off the tee. You got to be accurate, but more importantly, how's your approach game? And then because they're small greens, even if you're good on the approach game, you're still going to miss because they're so small. So your short game's got to be pretty solid too. So Colin Morikawa is the best iron player on tour right now. He ranks number 1 strokes gained approach, number 1 greens in regulation, number 1 strokes gained tee to green, number 6 driving accuracy, but he struggles putting. 187th on tour in putting. The only good news for him, if he's on the green this week, he's probably pretty close enough to the hole where it's not going to be a huge factor because they're small greens. He already won this year. He's got 4 wins and only his going into his 3rd season. He's a young, awesome player we're going to be talking about for years. He was the defending champion going into the PGA last week. He finished tied for 8th, so still put on a very good showing. And all he needs is just an average putting week. He just can't be terrible. He can't be like Tony Finn on the putting greens. He's just got to be average. And then he'll be right there in contention. So Colin Morikawa is one of the favorites I'm looking at this week. We go down to the next range. This one, John and I talked a little bit about this morning. Justin Rose is a guy I personally have not bet on in probably over a year. He was a FedEx Cup winner, top of his game for a while, and call it father time, call it whatever you want. It's caught up to him. He's in his mid-40s now, and he hasn't been around much as of the last year. However, Phil obviously showed that anybody can come out in the PGA Tour and win any single week, and Justin Rose has been showing some signs. He finished tied for 8th last week at the PGA Championship. He also finished 7th at the Masters just a few weeks ago. At the PGA Championship, he had 16 birdies, which was the most by anybody by a long shot birdies in the final 2 rounds, which that course was playing so difficult. The guys were shooting over par, but he had 16 birdies. It was pretty remarkable. He quoted afterwards saying how well he's putting right now and how good and confident he feels with the putter, which golf, no matter how much you look at the numbers, sometimes it really doesn't matter. It's a confidence sport. It's a mental sport. It's how you're feeling. And if you believe you're playing well and feeling well, you're going to go out there and play pretty well. And you're going to compete, even if you're not, number-wise as good as some of the guy next to you. You can still play with him. It's a very mental sport. He's currently actually underpriced. I guess you call it overpriced. He's 35-1 to win. I would have liked to see him closer to the 50-1 range, of course, but I think he's still worth some value this week. Some numbers I gave to John this morning was the average winner of this event over the last 20 years is 36. So it's not a young guy's track. And the average number of starts before you've won at this event is 6. So you have to play this place 6 times before you have a chance to win. That's an average over the last 20 years. So this is one place where experience, age, and patience matter. And Rose has that. He's 7 for 7 in cuts made here, never missed a cut. Won here 2018, finished tied for 3rd here last year. So a lot of good stats point to Justin Rose. And then if I go towards one long shot, I'll throw out is Siwoo Kim. If you're not a golf enthusiast of any kind, probably have no idea who the hell that is. That's okay. You don't need to. I'll tell you. He's already a winner this year at the American Express. He did miss the cut last week at the PGA, but that's not a bad thing. Sometimes missing cuts on the PGA Tour, especially on a tough course, is a good thing. 4 days playing where they played last week can be exhausting and grueling, and it's tough to get up for that next start the very, very next week. Honestly, off topic for 1 second, I'm surprised Phil's playing this week. He's a fade this week for me because, like any sport, right? Talk about a letdown situation coming up for Phil. But back on topic for Siwoo is before that missed cut at the PGA, he made 5 straight cuts. He had 2 top 12 finishes at the Masters and at the Players, which are 2 very tough venues, very deep fields. And the one stat I like with him this week is I mentioned the small greens. He's really good around the greens. He's number 24 on tour, strokes gained around the green, which is a pretty good number for a guy priced at 85-1 and a winner already this year on tour. So he's also 5-1 for a top 10. So sometimes we get into these longer range shots. Obviously, it's unlikely that they're going to win. Phil proved it. You could get him at 250-1 last week, but you can also start to play him on the leaderboard. So 5-1 for a top 10 or 2-1 for your money on a top 20 is pretty good value for Siwoo. He's got plenty of game to stay in there. So those are kind of like some of the outright plays in each of the tiers I'm looking at. And really, I'll just mention one more thing. If you're betting golf for the long run, outright plays, it's beer and pizza money. You might take a normal wager for outrights and split it up between 6 guys, 5-6 guys. Don't ever put a normal size wager on one guy. It's a fool's game. But golf matchups, you certainly can. That's where the guys you can really make a living betting golf matchups. And this week you have one I like is Patrick Reed over Tony Finau. So Finau is a guy hot as anyone in the world back in January or February, but he's cooled off as of late. And what's really weird is in his last 5 starts, he's got 3 missed cuts, but then he's got 2 top 10s at the majors. So very odd there, but the consistency is a problem for me versus Reed, very, very consistent. Tied for 6th at the Wells Fargo, top 10 at the Masters, tied for 8th there, tied for 22nd at the Players, 9th at the Workday, 1 at Torrey Pines. So in the last 6 events that both of these have played together in, Reed's beaten Finau 5 of the times, with the only time Tony actually winning was last week at the PGA. He beat him by 1 shot. So Reed's been much more consistent over that time. It's an even money price right now. I think it's minus 115 for Reed over Finau. That's a matchup play I would look at for this week. So there's my 2 cents, if you will, for this week's golf tournament. I'll apologize to Ross and Rob 2 weeks ago for getting on a couple duds, but I'll redeem it this week, boys. I got you.
Hey, I listen to Tony every week. You don't have to apologize.
I hate to disappoint you guys, but I have a couple questions for him.
Go right ahead.
So Joaquin Niemann, I think you said he's the current leader in consecutive cuts made. Driving accuracy seems to be an issue with him, looking at the metrics that I have, which is the same that everybody else is looking at, by the way. It's just shots gained, driving accuracy, recent recent driving form, long-term driving form. But this course, actually, you have to play, as he said, 6 or more times, and that's the average champion. But other than the Masters, we were trying to figure out this morning if there's a venue that's been played more consecutive years than Colonial. And I did find out that it is second to the Masters. So the Masters is the longest consecutive played venue, and then comes Colonial at 75 years.
Wow.
So, to that point, the more familiar a guy is with Colonial, the better. So I don't know how many times Joaquin Niemann has played the course, but it seems like his game might fit. And my question is, do you agree or disagree?
I think this is his second go around. I think his debut was last year. You're right. He leads the tour, 19 straight cuts made. So just based on form alone, I think he's a guy that's probably somewhere to look at in a matchup play or maybe a leaderboard play. Maybe he doesn't quite have the course experience to break through, but just because you're new doesn't mean you're not going to play well. It just means you're probably not likely to get that win in your belt. But could he certainly play well this week and be a top 10, top 20 type of a bet? Yeah, I don't know the price off the top of my head for him on that. I know he is priced pretty high as far as outrights, and for good reason, because he's just been so consistent. So more important sometimes for me than course experience is how you're playing the day. And he's playing very, very well. So I do like him. I think he's a good guy for a daily fantasy player because most likely he's going to be there all 4 days, and that's the key to that game.
And the last guy I'll mention is Charlie Hoffman. Any opinion on him? He's 8,700 on DraftKings, and my optimization models, he's a guy that can really help in that average cost per player. He's at 87. He's not 10,000. He's not 10,500.
Charlie's
a good choice.
He's red hot. 10 straight cuts made. 8 of those were top 20s, including 5 straight top 20s coming in. He was a runner-up in Texas in April at the Valero Texas Open. He's made 11 cuts and 12 starts at Colonial. His only miss was last year, believe it or not, this was the first event after COVID last year, so it was a goofy tournament to begin with. But he does have 5 top 25s here. Charlie and his sweet hair, I wish it was still there, man. But yeah, Charlie's a good play this week. He's 40-1. I actually have him on my notes. I skipped over him, but that's why I have all the information right here in front of me. He's a guy I do like this week.
And to your point about Phil.
Nick, so I just want you to know, I did watch some of the tournament last week because of Phil Mickelson. And inspiring for a guy that age to win it all. 56 years old, the guy looks like he's in the best shape of his life, no? I mean, he's ripped. I mean, before, if I'm not mistaken, he started to get a little punch in the midsection, and it looks like to me that he's really taking care of his body real well. And then they showed the last guy over 50 to win a major tournament. Talk about Santa Claus. Old-time Morris. Man, that guy was that guy was dressed to go to a trip to Siberia. Holy cow, man. He was 51 years old or whatever. He looked like he was 86. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you, Nick.
Well, I'm glad you watched.
Yeah.
Old Tom Morris is a name that's back in the early 1900s. He's one of the golf historian guys you're going to read about if you look at a little history of golf. But obviously a much different game back then.
Yeah.
But Phil.
Wardrobe too, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah. Phil, to add on to what you said, is a guy that Tiger always, I don't know if disdain is the right word, but looked down on because he never took care of himself. Tiger was a guy that was work out, be the best you can be, do everything you can with your body, and Phil was not that guy. But he proved he can still win. The guy's got 45 wins on the PGA Tour, so there's multiple ways to get it done out there.
When do you think Oosthuizen's going to win his first on North American soil? This is a guy that has come in second place. He has the Grand Slam. Second place finishes.
Runner up. Yeah.
But he's never won.
Honestly, if it hasn't happened now, maybe it's not gonna. He's got the game, but something's wrong where he hasn't done it yet. I don't know what it is.
He seems to always be there. I mean, he was there again on Sunday, and
you're right. Doesn't have that closer mentality.
Yeah, I agree. And Phil really stuck it up Koepka's rear end on that 16th hole, didn't he? Yes, you guys had to watch that. 16, 17, and 18 are the 3 holes to watch. And Kupka gets up there and bangs one out there about 351. It was, Nick.
Yeah, I think Phil on 366 right over him.
Yeah, he just crapped all over it.
51 years old. So see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was at least 15 yards further.
Yeah.
Which in golf is the size of an NBA court, Tony. By comparison.
An NBA quarter? I mean, like,
well, Nick, thanks for sharing the picks here. I really like Reed and Finau and some guy named Ricky Fowler, who we haven't heard about in a while.
Yeah.
Were the only 3 in the entire tournament to have 2 rounds under 70. Isn't that an interesting fact?
I did not know that.
And at one point, it was shocking. All of a sudden, the leaderboard, right before they went to a commercial, there's Ricky Fowler tied for 3rd, and he was done by then. But I think the guy who shot the round of the tournament was Abraham Answer on Sunday, and shooting 6 under. That was that's just insane. As hard as that course was playing, it did when I was there. I don't know if I told you this, Nick, or not. When I was there and played it, the wind can blow one way, and the very next day it can be 180 degrees different. So 17 on Saturday, actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, was playing into the wind and hard. And then Sunday, you were downwind. But because it's going 25, 30 miles an hour, that doesn't necessarily mean it's easier, because a heavy sea breeze that's downwind can actually knock the ball down.
Mm-hmm.
And you really, I'm not good enough to know where it's going to go down or not, but those were incredibly tough conditions and the longest course in majors history.
Good tournament to watch, Ross. Good one to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So,
Nick, how do you handicap Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers? Because I heard today that Phil draws Tom Brady in the head-to-head match, and DeChambeau gets Aaron Rodgers.
I'm 2-0 in the last 2 matches where we had Phil and Phil was with Brady before, and then what was the other one? It was Steph Curry and it was Barkley and Phil. And I took that Barkley and Phil in that one too. So I don't know. I guess I'm just getting lucky. I'm just like, you can't really handicap those guys that much.
Right.
You just hope you get the pros right, and it goes that way. It's more of a crapshoot. I'm not throwing a lot of money on it, but I'm 2-0. I'll go for
Nick. Hey, Nick, one more thing before you leave. I want you to take a picture and sign it George Brett, put it in a frame, send it to Tony. He could have that with his artificial turf with Marcus Allen's and who else? Joe Montana's autograph. Yeah, so since
it was Joe Montana and Marcus Allen, yes.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
Yes. So you can put it right next to it. Because you're a spitting image of George Brett when he was a kid, in my opinion.
There you go.
Fits in.
I mean that as a compliment. Yep.
He doesn't even use a golf glove either. He uses pine tar. Yeah. Seeing pictures of it.
All right, so let's
before
make
you
sure
go, Nick.
let me make sure I got it right before Nick leaves here. Colin Morikawa.
Yep.
Justin Rose.
Yep.
Won this tournament in 2018. Si-Woo Kim. Is that right?
Yep. Si-Woo. Yep.
Head-to-head Patrick Reed over Tony Finau.
That's it.
Minus $1.15.
Yep.
All right.
And let's throw Charlie Hoffman in there.
Okay. And then
if Nick's okay with that.
Yeah, Charlie, 40-1. I like Charlie.
And what about Joaquin Neiman?
That's
19 straight cuts.
I think he plays well. I left him off my card this week. No. Sometimes you can't pick them all, so he stayed off my card this week. I don't think he's going to play poorly. I just didn't put him on there.
All right.
For what it's worth, in my DraftKings, the Charlie and Joaquin will probably be the keys. The keys meaning that they'll be in the majority of the 7 entries that I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this in the offshore account that I keep just for golf bets.
See, he said he didn't do anything with golf. Now it's starting to come out.
I love it.
This is great.
Colleagues going to give you winners for free. You got to play them, right?
Pretty soon you'll be betting on darts.
Nice.
I used to play some darts. Not bad. I mean,
it's
when you live in cold weather, you play all those barroom games. So,
Very true.
Never bet on it though.
Well, Nick, we're going to, you can stay here if you want, or you can take off.
I'll hang on for a couple minutes before I got to go.
Well, let's transition over to Ross Benjamin. And before we do that, Nick, I want you to tell everybody where they can get your picks on Wager Talk, including your soccer picks and any big packages you have to offer.
Yeah, my page at wagertalk.com is the place to check that out. I do have the Colonial, the Charles Schwab Challenge tournament pack up for this week right now. It goes live tomorrow, Thursday, when the tournament starts. So you can still grab that until Thursday morning. And then we have the Euro tournament this summer. Basically, it's the second biggest soccer tournament out there besides the World Cup. So it's every other 4 years opposite the World Cup. So that's this summer. So you can grab that. That's a month-long tournament. All the countries of Europe play each other: France, England, Germany, Spain, you name it. So it's a big, awesome tournament. All 51 matches will be aired on ESPN, so you'll be able to watch. So definitely check out that package. I'm looking forward to that tournament. It should be a lot of fun.
Who's your pick for Saturday's UEFA?
I've been back and forth 3 times. It was Chelsea for a while, and now it's back towards City. I'll probably look at a lower scoring type of a game and stick to an under the total if I can get a decent price on 2.5 goals. I'm struggling with the side, to be honest. I've been flip-flopping.
Yeah, it's a tough game. I'm not even a soccer person, but I interview one. With the game, like the semifinals, guys, like we have semifinal games here in the United States, and you lose, you go home. In the UEFA, you actually play 2, and it's aggregate. So you can win the first game 2-1 and then lose 3-0 in the second one, and you don't go, even though you won the first one.
Yep.
But the championship is just one game.
Yeah, it's just a one-off.
Yeah, one and done. So I don't know. It's very interesting. It's like, why is there 18 holes in golf and not 20 or 15? I mean, I'm told, Nick, and you would know the answer, that old Tom Morris was one of the guys that said, well, there's 18 shots in the whiskey glass we're carrying with our golf clubs, so we're going to play 18 holes.
That is what they said. That is one of the rumors.
I know that fact impressed Tony Finn. I could just tell by the look on his face.
He was part of that foursome.
The royal and ancient Tony Finn.
What do they got, a gag order on you today, Tony? You're meek.
Well, I'm just listening. Listen to the PGA part. I'm learning.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a reason to listen because he brings some good stuff. Nick does.
Thanks, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Let me know when we get to the point where I should start the Kumbaya in the background. Nice and soft, and I can just kind of sway back and forth, and.
Hey, we're supposed to support each other.
That's right.
A lot of love here in this room, man.
Yeah.
So let's move over to Ross here and let him take the stage and tell us what he's got going over at Sports Memo. I know he's been hot. So take it away, Ross.
Well, I've been hot for about 3 months now. So number 1 overall at Sports Memo, plus 107 units for the calendar year. Number 1 in Major League Baseball with a 50-30 record at moneyline odds of average moneyline odds of minus 107. Despite an 0-3 last night, which hey, I own up when I lose too. 0-3 in the NBA last night, still number 2 at Sports Memo in the NBA as well. So things have gone awfully well. 17-7, even with that 0-3 last night over the last 8 days. So, yeah, you could find me at sportsmemo.com. A lot of great handicappers there. And no, I'm not going to sing Kumbaya again. I'm just going to tell you I'm one of them. So, the Ross Benjamin, you can find me right there at sportsmemo.com, John.
You got it. You have any free pick for us to
dissect? Well, I just want to bring, again, I got to blow my own horn again. I've been on the show 4 weeks. I've given you 4 winners. You know what they say about numbers, Tony?
I know what they say a lot. They say a lot of things about numbers. They're all lies. But go ahead.
Yeah, but numbers don't lie and liars don't figure. Okay,
numbers lie. They do lie. Don't believe it.
Well, you know what? Then I defy that logic. Okay. So anyway, we're going to look at the game in Major League Baseball tonight. Kansas City Royals and the Tampa Bay Rays. It's Mike Minor, the left-hander, going for the Royals, and Tyler Glasnow, the right-hander for the Tampa Bay Rays. And the total I'm going to look at, the total right now is at 7. And Mike Minor has pitched terribly at home, but he's been the polar opposite on the road. I mean, not great, but solid. 3.43 ERA, a whip of about 120, and 3 to 4 starts he's pitched on the road have gone under, and that's no news for Kansas City as they played 15-6 to the under on the road this year, and that includes 6-1 to the under in their last 7 on the road. The Royals are coming off yesterday's 2-1 win, which halted Tampa Bay's 11-game win streak. And, John, you'll be interested in this because Kansas City has played 8-1 to the under on the road this year following a game in which they scored 2 runs or less. And the Royals are going to have that unenviable task of having to face Glasnow. Now, he's coming off a bad start against Toronto, but he's had a history of bad starts against Toronto, and he's been pretty damn good against just about everybody else. As a matter of fact, in 4 home starts this year, Glasnow, a 2.20 ERA, a 0.80 whip. Both of these bullpens have pitched very well over the last week. So I'm going to go under the total. I'm not going to get scared of this low number. I'm going under 7 in the game between the Kansas City Royals and the Tampa Bay Rays.
Tony Finn, do you agree?
I would say, listen, you got left-hander. You're throwing a left-hander at this Tampa Bay lineup that struggled against left-handers, struck out 31% of the time against left-handed pitching. Their current outside of last night when they lost and lost that win streak, there's been some differences. I mean, their form right now would say don't play them under. I wouldn't trust Minor as far as you could throw him. But that's the right play here. I mean, if you're going to be on this total, the under would be the play, especially with Glasnow against the Royals lineup that is not just pedestrian; they're less than pedestrian, and against a Tampa Bay team that has struggled against Southpaw. So yes, I wouldn't argue with Ross at all. Which Ross makes you a loser tonight because I'm agreeing. There you go, John Vegas.
Mr. John Kelly to you, sir.
John Kelly, Vegas, Ryan.
Yeah.
4 names.
And Mr. Vino.
Yeah.
What do you think of this game? Do you think the under is the best bet?
I got involved personally in this game with the Tampa Bay side. So if they win 2-0, 3-1,
We'll both be happy.
All's good in the world. I know I'm painting that kumbaya picture again, John, but you like everybody.
I do like that. It's good.
Yeah, I just think Glasnow bounces back here off of that effort against the bad effort against this Kansas City lineup. We mentioned last week when we were talking about Tampa Bay, that strikeout rate that Tony just brought up, and it hasn't gotten any better with that particular lineup against left-handed pitching. So Mike Minor, the concern here with him is that he doesn't make it beyond 5, but the Kansas City bullpen guys, a couple of numbers haven't been bad. Tell you the truth. Some of the things I looked at, inherited runners allowed to score, or if you rather, the left on base, the stranded percentage, they're number 5 in the major leagues as a relief corps in runners stranded. So you can probably navigate your way through the late innings here. Tampa Bay's the team, if they're winning in the 9th inning, that won't have the 9th at bats. You can save yourself 3 outs there, extra swings. So I wouldn't argue the under here. I just, for my own personal wager, I was on Tampa Bay. I cut it down to first 5. I think Glasnow will outpitch Minor first 5. And, if Tampa Bay gets out of there 1-0, everybody's happy.
I love it. I think Rob Vino does some of the best baseball breakdowns or game breakdowns in any sport, universally. I'm not taking anything away from anybody else on this show or anywhere else, but it just kind of flows. It's polished.
Where's that music, John?
Background. It's in the background. You hear the phone?
You're loving me. I love that.
That's the phone.
You can feel it on my back.
The modern age, the new age of Kumbaya is that telephone ringing.
Like it.
Don't you hear it?
It's a question for Nick right here. Let's get that one answered.
Oh,
yeah, Morikawa versus Thomas Daly. That was in the matchup that you mentioned that take Morikawa.
Versus who? Thomas who?
John Daly.
Wasn't he the mayor of Chicago?
Like what?
For 100 years.
Corrupt as hell.
Yeah.
So I think he's talking about JT.
Oh, Justin Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go Morikawa. I don't know what the price is. I would think it's probably close to even money.
Well, I would think. I wouldn't be surprised if Thomas was favored.
Yeah, I know, which even makes it better. So
maybe our Max on record can tell us.
I've been told, you guys. You need to verify this, confirm it, deny it, whatever you want. But I was told by a guy who made a pretty penny last week. He bet against JT. He bet against him almost everything. I mean, in matchups, everything, not making the cut, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He says he's back on the stuff. What does that mean? He said he's back on the stuff, Tony. I'm betting against him.
It means he's been to your house.
Your nose.
Wow.
Does he have a history with
cocaine?
Snuggling up to a
is that right?
A illicit some kind of a substance?
Yeah.
You're talking about Dustin Johnson,
guys.
You're talking about Dustin Johnson.
Isn't he married to Gretzky's daughter?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's the one. He had a cocaine problem at one point, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it
Gretzky
didn't make him play
shaken him
better.
out. No,
Like bad cocaine then.
at least in my opinion.
If you let him over your house, Tone, lock the refrigerator. Don't let him get yours.
Well, if I live in my house, it's gonna be more than that. I'm gonna say, okay, start sharing. That's what I'm gonna say.
I was actually talking to said individual that bet everything he had on Dustin Johnson not to do well. Mm-hmm. And you are talking about Dustin Johnson. I thought you said Justin Thomas. Because to my knowledge, he's not married to Gretzky.
Well, who are we talking about? We're talking about
that's who I was
the
talking
world
about.
number one.
Yeah.
There's only one.
World number one is Dustin Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And that's who. Yeah.
DJ.
Okay, so
DJ.
At one point on Friday afternoon, said person was still worried that there was like a 22% chance that Dustin could make the cut.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the board, and it suddenly went down to 2%.
7 over par with a hole to go or 3 holes to go, and then he did go 2 under par in the last 3. See, I do know a little bit about PGA, and he makes up a couple strokes, goes I think to 6 or something. I know he missed the cut by 1 stroke, right?
Yeah, so did Justin Thomas.
Yep.
There you go.
So maybe since they missed it by 1 shot each, maybe they're doing the same stuff.
Maybe. Some bitches.
Hey, John, I got to go, guys.
Okay, Ross.
Nice to participate with all of you. I do have a 10-unit top play going tonight in the NBA, by the way. Anybody out there listening? In the Philadelphia-Washington game. You could find it right at sportsmemo.com. And, guys, I'll take care and good luck tonight.
Good luck, Ross.
If I find out he's on the Wizards, man.
No. Bye-bye.
Don't bite. Don't bite.
Right.
Never. Here's the new quote: "Never bet against Ben."
Ben
Simmons.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it. We want to get another hour conversation about Ben Simmons, and you're going to make me say it again every time I'm on the show. I say it, and if Ben was a threat, let's change it. If Ben was even a threat to make a 10-foot jump shot, how good would Philly be?
It'd be damn good.
They would be.
Okay. So Simmons' last game had 15 assists, 15 rebounds, less than 10 points, and he was 0 for 6 from the free throw line.
Listen to this. No,
I'm the host. I'm the host. Let me finish. The Sixers are 21-4 against the number, which is 84%. The last time I did it in my head. In home games, coming off a home game in which Ben Simmons had 10 or fewer points and had 10. I'm sorry, it's not even points. Coming off a home game in which Simmons had 10 or more assists. Period. Yeah. That's it. And the previous game was home. They're 21-4
against the spread.
ATS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
I'd want that guy on my team.
He is on your team. He just can't hit a jump shot. You can't. He's not a threat to. It becomes. Listen, guys. It is for as my esteemed colleague up in the or in the lower third of the
Over here.
Screen, wherever he is. I'm not even looking at the screen. You know that. He's not a threat in the end of the game, and it's 4-5. They just leave Ben alone. They just let him have here. Take the shot, Ben. Take the shot. That's where he gets most of his rebounds, off his own shots, right?
You need it not to be close late in the game. Let Philly have a double-digit lead the way Brooklyn did.
Here's the deal in that game. It's pretty simple tonight, guys. Let's just give it away. Okay. Here it is. It's as simple as this. For Philly to win and to play to the level to beat Washington, which means they're going to have to score a few points because they're right now, as Rob and I, as we discussed on the show, in a space and in a pace and space scenario, playing that kind of a scheme, Philly has to. They're not going to win. They're not going to win scoring 105, 110 points. They're just not going to. So as long as the best player in the NBA is on the floor, Philly will win. But it means he can't be the defensive player that he probably wants to be. He doesn't really need to be in this situation. What's that mean? It means that this game figures to go up and down. Go up and down. Played at pace tonight, and the winner probably scores 130, which would lead me to want to play top side of that, at least the north side of that bookmaker's total.
Yeah, 228.5 right now at DraftKings. Yeah. So I would blow that away. I don't think the Sixers win by 30.
Well, they had to win by they had to win by what, 32 actually. If 130 to 98. Right. We're a loser. Damn it. No, I've already talked to a few people. I've read Rob, you read the quotes. I mean, listen, Ben's going. I mean,
Joel,
our boy Joel is going to be on the floor and not be in foul trouble. What's that? In foul trouble? What's that mean? It means that he's probably not going to play the defense that he would like to play, and I'm quite certain he's been told, listen, we need you on the floor. What's that mean? It means you're rebounding and scoring, and while you can protect the rim, you better not foul, or you may not be playing at the end of next week.
It means we have an asterisk next to Eric Lewis. Any game that Philly plays from here on out where Eric Lewis is the crew chief and where Pat Frayer is behind him.
Yes.
I don't think Joel wants to see those zebras in the building.
Who is it?
He doesn't see him tonight.
Who is the crew tonight?
The crew tonight is, let me go to my spreadsheet here. Crew is Mark Davis, Kevin Scott, and Jason Goebel.
Okay.
It's an offensive crew. Mark Davis. Okay, give us some points.
Yeah.
So I agree. Joel stays on the floor.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
Listen, I agree. If you look at if you saw that game, we all watched that game. I think all of us had a vested interest in that game. And if you watched it, if you look at the bottom, if you look at the numbers, just the surface, the box score, without looking at the underlying peripherals of that game, it's Philly didn't play. I mean, they didn't play horrible, but as good as Washington played, or as well as they shot, I thought they did. Then Westbrook can only be better. He can't be much worse than he was. He can, but I think we all know that he's not going to be worse than that. Not tonight. And Beal can't be anything but a little healthier than he has been the last two games. He's been pretty good and pretty tough. Ben's going to have to be on him, guys. Is he not? I mean, if Ben needs to be on Beal the whole time, the entire time.
I would say so.
Yeah, and if Ben's resting, they can get away with Thibault.
Yeah.
He's got the size and the length
to
do so. You know, those big guys of the Wizards, Daniel Gafford, Robin Lopez, and Alex Len, we can't allow those guys, if you're a Philadelphia 76er fan tonight, to go 13 for 17 from the field. I mean, that's
I think they'll be pretty good. I think if my intel's correct and Joel's he'll protect the rim to a degree, but he's gonna be that's not as he's not gonna be that same aggressive. I just don't think you're gonna see him farther than 15 feet away from the basket, no matter who is out there. What Washington's doing offensively, I just don't think he's gonna bite on that. So,
what do you think? The Sixers score 125 or more points?
I do.
All right. In past games since 2018, Sixers are 21-0. 17-4, and the over is 19-2.
Not bad. Yeah, I think if they score 125 tonight, I think that 229, whatever, the 228.5, 229, it is tough not to be on the north side of.
It's more likely to be like 240 points if they get above 125.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't think they're going to shut down both Beal and Westbrook. But what would be wrong with this? Was one of the things on the agenda that I had put together for the show to keep us a little bit on the track, which we're doing good now, by the way.
Okay.
If you were the coach of the Sixers, and let's say I'm a reporter, I'm going to ask you right now, what's wrong with playing Simmons and Thibault at the same time? Thibault on Westbrook, Simmons on Beal. And whenever they go out of the game, those two players go out of the game, and they just mirror them the whole first half.
Yeah, you sacrifice on the other end for sure.
Yes, I think so.
I mean, you have three. Then you better have three scorers with them. Better have Joel. Better have Tobias, and can I even think of
Curry?
Steph Curry? I guess you better have those three with them, and go with that group because you do sacrifice offense with the other two guys. There's no question. They're not. Thibault's not afraid. He's just not a very good shooter at this point in time. Once he gets better, John, he's a starter in this league on about 20 plus other teams.
Yep.
But right now he doesn't shoot it well enough. Doesn't look for it enough. It's his first playoffs. Who knows how he's going to shoot it? But that's what you'd have to do if you want to put those two guys and you want to lock up the defensive end. Tony, real quick, you know what, John? Let's go ahead and let Nick do what he's got to do here, and then we can keep. Otherwise, we're going to keep this poor guy in that box way beyond when he's able to stay here. So, hey, Nick, real quick, thanks for the golf.
Listening to you guys. You're like
you're well. And do you cover basketball, Nick?
Sound in my ears.
I just saw his message.
You do basketball? Well, you do just golf. You don't do just golf and soccer. All you do?
I played basketball through high school. I watch basketball. I'm a Chicago everything first, but I'm outside of Philly, so are my second team. So I was listening intently to what your boys were saying. That's good information.
Which means, John Ryan, when we get together, make sure Nick is on the invite list in our Philadelphia area here.
Yes.
And I think he's already invited us to his club, and it's on him. I think.
Yes, you already got your tea time at the course, John.
I'm not going anywhere near a course where you're respected, Nick, because they'll throw you out of there. But the gin mill afterwards, the 19th hole. I'll wait for you.
We'll save a stool for you.
Absolutely, I'll wait for you. No problem with that. Thank you for the golf.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Pleasure.
Good luck, man.
Talk to you soon. Good luck.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, John, real quick.
Go ahead,
and
Rob.
then let Tony go. I would just, to get back where you were, I would play those five together, and then I'll let Tony go ahead and be coach. I'd love to do that. In fact, part of my handicapping, I always do try to put myself in the coach's shoes and try and game plan or theorize or philosophize or whatever to see if I can come up with some type of, not that they're listening to me, not that they're going to do what I think they should do, but you have to have some kind of grasp of what these guys might do. There hasn't been a lot of times, and we watch a lot of Sixers basketball, right? It's on the local network here. There's not a lot of times when Ben and Matisse are on the floor at the same time. So it would be an interesting combo. He may be afraid to go against combos that he hasn't used much in the playoffs. But from a defensive standpoint, like we've said 1,000 times, those two guys, they lock up any, swingmen in this league.
Yeah, so, they could be number 2 and number 3 in the league, or they could be number 1 and number 3 of all players. I mean, Thibault is, per minute is just like off the charts. And he got more playing time. Obviously, the numbers get even better. But for what he contributes in 20 minutes of play, which has been pretty much his average, I would you his minutes. And that wouldn't be good for Tony's over though. If you see Thibault starting with Simmons, that probably would not bode well for the total.
Well, I just don't see that. I don't think that Philadelphia. They shouldn't be concerned on the matchups they have offensively against Washington. they should not be concerned about being outscored. What they should be concerned about is not having in this matchup is as I was told, and that's not having their best players on the floor. Because their best players on the floor, as good as they are defensively, this team, there's 3 players I would. Well, first off, Embiid is critical. He's absolutely mission critical to them. To them scoring 125 points. First off,
well, he could be 40 of them.
Yeah, Tone. Real quick to the I'll call it intel or whatever. And you've said it plenty of times before. Bradley Beal's preference, Russell Westbrook's preference, Smith's preference is the rim, not the three-pointer.
That's right.
And if Joel is going to concentrate more at staying on the floor than he is, deterring those guys when they get to the rim, then that speaks volumes to the over. Because once those guys find an opening, they're going to exploit that opening until the cows come home. And to the other point, Philly shouldn't be afraid of a track meet. They've beaten this team 4 times, and one time they had to score 141 to do it, so they can outrun them.
Yep.
They didn't cover that game. That's the key, but we're not talking about covering a game. We're talking about total.
Right. And listen, if they score, I'm also of school of thought if they do score 140, I think they will cover.
Yeah.
They didn't score. They didn't cover it that one time, and they couldn't. And it's possible that they may not cover. That's it. It's almost double digits. And you said it, Rob. This isn't the best matchup for Philly as far as playing a low-scoring game and winning and covering. That pace and space is first off is a very difficult. That's why we have what we have in the NBA. It's because you can't. There's not the best perimeter defender in the NBA doesn't even really get the assignments to the best player on the opposition or the team they're playing simply because they can't afford to lose him offensively. And I'm talking about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, Beverly is an absolute no. Beverly should not have more than 10 minutes in a game against Dallas. You saw it again last night.
Yeah.
He should not have. And truthfully, Kawhi Leonard would be the guy that you would put on. He would be the guy to guard Johnson. But you can't afford to. I mean, what did he score? They lose last night, and he scored, what did he score, 40? 41?
Yeah, you know what, Tone? And they tried it for a bit, too. They tried Kawhi for a little bit. But when the third quarter started, Ty Lue took him off of Doncic. I tell you what, in one season, 5 games head-to-head is more than a small sample size in one season.
Yes.
That's the 5th straight time this year in 5 games that Dallas has shot 49% or better against this team. This matchup is just bad for the Clippers. And to purposely lose to Houston and OKC, those tankers, so that you could draw Dallas.
That makes no sense.
Custom-made your first-round matchup, and to get destroyed at home twice in a row by this team. So much for ducking the Lakers, LA Clippers. I mean, they got their hand. They got to win 4 out of 5 against this team. And I don't, unless Dallas goes stone cold, then they're winning this series at this point in time.
I was going to say to you, I was talking to someone this morning, and I didn't check. I got busy, and I've been busy. I had my daughters here in town for the weekend, so I haven't been very efficient in any duty that I am signed or responsible for. So, but I wanted to look at what the series price was on that because I was considering late last night when I thought about it, I want to see what Dallas is right now in that series price. So I'll let you look it up, Rob, because I know go right through
right
it.
Here.
Up.
John, you got it?
Yep. Clippers are plus 200, Dallas minus 250.
Guess what? I'm not playing that now. I'm not playing that now. In fact, if I'm going to play something, I'm going to play Kawhi at plus 200.
Right.
Yeah. But if that's not, I feel very uncomfortable doing that because there's not a whole lot of bones. And how many bones in the human body? Something like 200, 112, whatever it is. There's not too many of my bones to feel good about that.
Yeah, because you could just as well play Dallas money line game by game.
That's
Who wants
correct.
to lay 250 for the series? They're an underdog at home tomorrow. You're getting plus price on the money line tomorrow with Dallas. Just play that.
Yeah. Listen, again, there's been, as I said last show, I was saying that right now the three teams that were favored to win the West, as far as I know, they probably still are. I don't know if Clippers are now. I think the Clippers might have dropped out of that three, but they all lost game ones. Every single one of them lost game one, which really swings and sways in true numbers, in the true odds. If you're, all things equal, it really gives that. It makes it difficult. So we did see the Lakers bounce back last night in a game that. Yeah, I was on Phoenix again, and I felt like I still felt like I was going to win that game until the final 2 minutes. I did. Davis did a couple good things, and I thought that Phoenix showed some of their playoff inexperience in the final 2 minutes and made some mistakes, but that's going to happen even to the best teams. So
I showed this to you guys earlier this morning, and a whole bunch of other people at Sports Memo, and
I asked you a question about this. Remember?
Yep, it's the 2020 season.
Yep,
including the recent playoffs.
Okay, so it's the 2020 season. So here it is. This is the underlying metrics, just the bold, brash metrics of this are that if you are ahead in the first quarter of a basketball game, regardless, playoffs, regular season, doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
Then what's their record?
29-0.
Who's 29-0?
Dallas Mavericks. See the top line?
Dallas Mavericks are 29-0. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, what I was looking at this was, and let's just start with what we see. There's the Mavericks, 24-5-0, right?
Yep.
Okay, what's the 24-5-0?
That's against
straight
spread.
Up. That's against the spread.
Yeah. See the color coding at the top? I did it just for you.
The 29-0 is straight up, Tone.
Okay, straight up. That's what I want.
And then over here, straight up, and then here's the average line.
I know better than to. I need to download these charts that you have, John, in Excel, because our office communicator doesn't do a very good job with spreadsheets.
I agree.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
good.
not a
Okay,
problem
29-0. 29-0.
Yep.
So this is what you do. This is what you do then, right? It's pretty simple. You play. You play the Clippers money line and spread in Game 3, and if the Mavericks are ahead after the first quarter, then in Game Live you just bet everything twice as much back to cover the two losers that you bet pre-flop. Yeah. And John Kelly Vegas Ryan guarantees it.
Mm-hmm. Well, based on the numbers, yeah.
Okay, good enough.
I can't guarantee it. Can't guarantee the future.
Oh, that's what we do for a living.
Oh, dang it.
So my son, my youngest, is an avid Mavericks fan. Been that way his whole life. He goes crazy for Dallas. So Saturday in game 1, when this number was first mentioned, it was 27-0. Then at the end of the first quarter, the announcing crew said they're 27-0 at the end of the first quarter. And I happened to be texting with my son, and I said, well, we can shut this game off because Dallas is going to win.
Yeah.
It got close in the end, but Dallas did win. Yesterday, they're ahead at the end of the first quarter, and I get to Twitter, and Dallas was ahead at the end of one. I just put Dallas is 28-0. In games where they've led after the first quarter. Somebody on Twitter went ahead and bet it in game 2 minutes into the second quarter when the Clippers took the lead very quickly in the second quarter. They took the lead. Maybe it was only 1 minute in. And
I remember that.
Came back and, basically DM'd and thanks for sharing. But it's just one of those things where it's probably inexplainable. It's not really logical, but it happens. And 29-0 is now 29-0. So the whole world knows it now.
Now, that's just this year.
Just this year.
Right. Which makes it even more unexplainable. Because why? What was the Mavericks season-ending record? It was
what'd they win? 30-something games?
Yeah, I'll tell you in a second.
37, 37,
I think
38?
it was. Yep.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my
head. Just a second.
Here it is. Yes, the
They
champions of the world.
44-30 is Dallas's record right now.
Right. Well,
so
the regular season,
42-30.
Right. The regular season, Dallas was 42-30, and they won. That's the same record as the Lakers, for instance. The Lakers, Portland, the Mavericks, I think, were all 42-30, if I remember right. That means, and how many during the regular seasons they win after the first quarter? What was the record? Was it 26?
29. So 29 times out of the 42 they were ahead after one, yeah.
And they were 29-0 during the regular season?
Well, 27.
That includes 27, right?
27, yeah.
27.
Okay, so 27 of 42 games. 27 of 42 games. Look, you can break this down all you want to. And I'll tell you right now, Doncic, I'm curious, of those 27, I wonder if Doncic was not – he had some injury issues. He missed some games early in the season, remember?
Yeah, go through the beginning of their season, Tony.
Right.
He shows up overweight. Remember, he was the odds-on,
Yes.
not odds-on, but he was the favorite to win most valuable player, right? Most valuable player odds had Luke on top. He shows up overweight. They get COVID to start the season. So they're playing with a G League lineup for a while. Yeah, it's crazy.
And I'm going to guess. I haven't looked. I'll just let chat, the crew there, our statisticians, and et cetera. You can go back some box scores. I'm quite certain. If he's the other common denominator to this 27-0, then we're getting even weirder.
Well, let's see. 2020, the beginning. The first game is December 27th. They led against the Clippers. They were on the road, won 124-73.
Yeah, they crushed them.
January 1st against the Heat. They were home, won 93-83.
Well, I'm talking about all games this season. Of those 27-0 they went, was Luka in every? Was he active and starting in every one of those?
Why didn't you say so?
I did. I just didn't say it very clear.
That database will handle anything, Tone.
Will it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then.
How do you spell Luka's name again?
Luca.
Yep.
K-A.
Lucka.
L-U-K-A. Four letters.
Lucka?
No, it's four letters. L-U-K-A.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I always make it. And then D-O-N.
And last name Don. D-O-N.
D-O-N-J.
C-I-C.
All right.
That damn French. I can't pronounce those damn French
right?
names.
All right, here we go. And the answer is only one game did he not play. They led at the first quarter.
Who are they
March
playing?
3rd.
Sacramento?
Thunder.
Well, guess what? That didn't count.
Right.
But that
doesn't count.
But they won and they covered.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And they were leading at the end of the first quarter.
Okay. Well, it's again, it's something that I would strongly advise no one waste their time trying to figure out why.
Right. There's such a randomness to that. Wow.
Exactly. However, it's something I'm even sorry I know about now, to be honest with you.
Everything doesn't. Tone, you're in Las Vegas. Do you know
I am.
a handicapper, longtime handicapper by the name of Andy Isco?
Yeah, I know that name.
Yes, I do.
Know him.
I don't know him personally, but of course I know who he is.
Andy's a good guy. I did a lot of radio with him when I was out.
He's a covers. He was to be a covers guy. He might still be. I don't know, but go ahead.
He used to publish his own newsletter.
Yeah.
And his newsletter was called The Logical Approach. Mm-hmm. And this random statistic just makes me remember every time what I used to think of that title is that the logical approach to sports betting, it ain't going to get you paid every single time. It's just not. There's so much randomness to this stuff, including what we're looking at here. But if it's cash and tickets, I mean, who the hell am I to argue? I'm not going to argue it. There's just no rhyme or reason behind this number whatsoever that this team should be 29-0 when leading after one quarter. When the NBA is what it is, The NBA is such a, have a 20-point lead and blow your 20-point lead. You know what I mean? The swings in an NBA game are crazy. So we'll see if it continues. I just know this matchup is horrendous for the Clippers. They have no answers for Luka Doncic. I know that in his quest for an answer last night, Ty Lue decided, you know what? We're the second slowest tempo team in the NBA, but you know what? We're going to run up and down the floor and see if that works. And he's got a 73-71 halftime lead. But even then, that philosophy didn't work. So they just have a lot of issues. And how about the way Tim Hardaway? I tell you what, he's as unafraid as his dad was.
Yes.
He's fantastic right now.
I'll tell you what, I mentioned it yesterday on yesterday's show when Anthony was on with us and he was talking about it. And I said, if Hardaway continues to shoot the way he's shooting, he makes Dallas better than they already are. I mean, no, he makes Dallas. If he can shoot that way, then he makes Luka better, without question.
Yeah, I've been doing some digging here, and teams that have the lead after the first quarter, but are losing at halftime, and are installed as a dog.
You for
follow
a second
the logic,
half,
right?
They were a dog pre-flop?
They were a dog pre-flop.
Okay.
They won the first quarter, but they're losing by more than the margin in the first quarter because they're losing at the half.
Right, which is the exact case. That's the exact case Dallas was in last night, exactly.
And they're a dog. The last 3 seasons, the Mavericks are the best team in the NBA that during this 3-year period, 10-4 against the number, but 7-7 straight up.
When winning after 1, but losing at half.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And all that's, again, the randomness is this, and that is there's only, you could the logical approach would be you can only use that kind of information in game live because
right.
It's all. That's why and even then, of course, that's too small a sample size for me to put the mortgage on it.
Well, let's hold on. I'm digging here. I'm coming. I'm going to give you something.
Okay.
This is what I was born to do. All right. So Dallas's win percentage was what at the end of the regular season? It's over 60%.
42
and 58%. That would be 58%, something like that.
All right. So win percentage above, let's say 55. Look, there we go. And all teams in the league, when winning the first quarter, trailing at the half, installed as a dog, and a win percentage of greater than 55%, this is the complete opposite. 28-2 and 86 straight up, 38 and 68 against the spread, and that's for the whole league. So that makes
Doncic, that makes Luka a warlock. Then all the shit that's going on.
So Dallas, Mavericks. Here we go. 3-1 straight up and against the spread. The last 3 years in games they were a dog and a win percentage of 55% or higher. They just have something kind of good. What it's telling me is the data's telling me we want to use a losing record team that was leading in the first quarter.
Well, yeah, that they can't be. It has to be much better than what you just read, or something's wrong with the database.
So a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we do? Well, I'm going to do this. Winning record and not higher than 60%. See what that does. Because seeing the angle of the day, a lot of times that's the grouping. No, that's no good either. I'm gonna get rid of the dog part because a win percentage of 50 to 60%, they're not gonna be a dog very often.
I have, since you have the database, since you got it warmed up.
Yep.
I think we can take this. Can you ask the database this in the history of? You can go back as far. I don't know how many years back your database goes, but my curiosity is piqued now because I'm still running through numbers in my head on Dallas being now basically a minus. Basically, the Clippers are now the plus money to win this series because they're down 0-2. But what's the history of an underdog winning the first two games of a first-round series?
On the road?
Yes.
27-4. You don't even have to go to the database. I know that one off the top of my head.
27-4. So 27-4. The history is 27-4. 27 times the team that won the first two.
But it has to be on the road. You have to steal the first two on the road.
Right.
And it has to be a 7-game series.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really what we need to know here. 27-4. 27-4.
It's like,
and here's the deal. And so it's 27-4. And what are we getting? We're getting plus 200.
No, you're getting less. Oh no, you're right. You're getting plus 200. You're right.
Right.
You're right.
That math doesn't add up.
Yeah, you've got a 12.7% chance of cashing that ticket, and you're getting plus 200. How about that?
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, minus 250 is very cheap when you got an 80.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right. Yep. Yeah. Interesting, because you see what we have tonight is we have another opportunity. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I would hope it with D. Mitchell on the floor, and I can't find anywhere. In fact, the line in this game and all the metrics from the live score odds is that Mitchell's playing.
Yeah,
of course. Then I really thought he was playing in game 1 too until I found out he wasn't. But there's that opportunity where again, if Memphis shoots 50% from three-point land and 50% from the floor, and they score more points in the paint than Utah, this man for man between those two teams, guys, I think you'll agree with me that there's no compare. There's not there should be no mistake why Utah is a 9-point favorite or 8-point favorite.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially the way they you were saying before, if Memphis shoots 50% from three, they didn't do that statistically this season. Not really close. They're not a great 3-point shooting team.
They're not a good shooting team. They're not really. No, that's why they shoot. That's why they score most of their opponents in the paint, is because Morant is not a great shooter, not yet. But I think he's a guy that will be better and better. And we've talked about it many times. He's a guy that has no choice but to get better as a shooter.
And Brooks, I mean, they've got talent. That roster is 10 deep, young, and they have a center who can play. The kid Desmond Bane, bottom of the first round, I think he's their best 3-point shooter percentage-wise, over 40%. But Utah rolls 5 guys out that shoot 40% from three.
That's right.
So,
That's right. And they didn't shoot very well. And let's just call a spade. And D. Mitchell is a pretty important part to the Utah team.
No question.
Yeah. And if you look at the games he's missed this year and the games that they've won or lost, I think you'll find that one of the common denominators, even if they won without Mitchell, you'll find that the opposition or the opponent in that particular game had a significantly less than skill set of that which Utah sports.
Yeah, they hung on to that number 1 seed. And a lot of that, the back end of that schedule down the stretch, Tony, was garbage. I mean, they were playing some bad teams.
Yep.
Because remember, they didn't have Mitchell or Conley for about the last, I want to say, 7 of the last 8 games, 8 of the last night, because Conley was out for a short bit,
and
too.
And since Mitchell, if you remember last year, we had this conversation, you and I, Rob, many, many times. Conley, for the first 10 or 15 games he was with Utah, it was a miserable existence for Utah, for Snyder, for Conley, and for the fan base, because they were awful.
Yeah, no.
It took him a while to fit in. The saving grace again. Listen, Mitchell is one of those guys. There's a couple of really good friends in this, and I don't know if you guys know, and you may know, Rob, you probably do know that Mitchell and Graham are high school teammates.
Oh, Devontae Graham. Okay. No.
Yes.
Yeah, but Devontae Graham isn't in this. matchup.
Well, no, I'm
Devontae
just saying
Graham,
that.
Yeah,
No, yeah.
Charlie.
No, right. But I didn't mean to. I kind of crossed over. But that's who Devontae Graham's not. Devontae Graham was a great college basketball player, and played. 2 or 3 of his years were played opposite a guy who's playing in the NBA now, who doesn't get a lot of recognition, but is a grinder in Mason.
Yeah, Frank
That's
Mason
right.
is.
So Devontae's always played with someone who has been a little bit, I think, had a better physically was more talent, physically more gifted, bigger. Not that Mason was a big guy, but Mason could take a big guy to the rim and use his body, where Devontae isn't that big, Mitchell is one of those guys too. He's just 3 years ago, if you said that Mitchell, if we said, listen, Mitchell's going to be the backbone of this Utah team, and these are going to be other players on this team, they probably would have committed us,
Yeah, I don't think when he came out of Louisville he was good, but I don't think anybody knew it was this good. And if you just apply it to tonight, Tone, real quick, even if he's on some type of, and I don't know if he will be, minutes restriction, even if he's, it's his first game back in about a month, even if he's a little bit rusty, with him on the floor, you still have to pay attention to him, and it just opens everything else up for Ingles, for Clarkson, for Conley, for
Clarkson. What was he? 0 for 8 or something?
He was 0 for 8, and I looked at his numbers. I think his 3-point player prop was 2.5 minus 25 cents. But I'm thinking that kid is not going to miss 8 3-pointers tonight.
I thought that was a great trade they made last year when they picked up Clarkson. Clarkson wasn't doing anything at that time with Indiana. Wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, no, he's been, another MIZ.
But Mitchell, you're right about that. Here's the deal. I'm arrogant enough to believe I know. I covered Snyder for another years. Snyder, God bless him. He went through some hell when he was in Missouri, and the things the mess he got into being a young coach. Hell, he's still young. In truth, he's still young, but he's also arrogant enough to believe wholeheartedly that he decided to sit Mitchell, thinking we can win this first game 1 without Donovan.
I don't know if he had to mend that fence or not, but everything I read, Mitchell was not happy with that decision.
No, he
whatsoever.
wasn't. He wasn't happy. No, you're right.
And the head coach might have had to go and mend that fence. Listen, I apologize or something, but I don't know if it's a directive from up top or if Snyder made it himself. But that kid was ready to go. I say, I'm sitting there with the total in that game over, and then 90 minutes before game time, Donovan Mitchell isn't going, and they wind up getting there. But
here's the deal. Bad deal with that one is I swear up and down. I love that card that day. Not only the MLB card, but I love that NBA card that night. And I thought it was going to be 3-0 in the NBA, right? Well, somehow, some way, Coach Tim in Madison Square Gardens wasn't as smart as you or me or John, and somehow Trae Young got free for a 6-foot floater to win the game. And I've got minus. I'm basically I think I played money line minus 106 or something. I got the Knicks essentially 106. But I felt like Utah was going to. That was such a bad spot for Memphis. What they had gone through to get there. There's just no way. There's just no way. And then all of a sudden, Mitchell's not playing, and I didn't feel so good about it because I also had just lost a buzzer beater at Madison Square.
Can you imagine if Phil Mickelson ran around after making an eagle putt like Trae Young did?
Hey, John, I don't know if I don't think I shared this with Tony this morning. Quote from Derrick Rose, just to apply this to tonight's game.
Oh, yeah.
Here's Derrick Rose talking about Trae Young when asked. I'm going to read it directly. The league has gotten so soft. The crowd is supposed to do that. Young's reaction is supposed to be that way. I mean, that's what I'm used to. You want to talk shit, talk shit. It's all right. But next game, it's going to be tougher, which, as we said yesterday, where's Charles Oakley? Where's Patrick Ewing? Where are the guys that are going to make this kid hit the deck when he tries
Bill
his
Laimbeer.
7-foot floater?
I have no doubt.
Derek Rose is telling you they're going to be there tonight to make sure.
Well, hell, Larry Bird used to do it all the time.
Yeah, they're not. No, that's old school. That's old school. I have no doubts, not one bit, that this is old school. This New York team, they're old school. Right. Not so much the kids are that's what they want to be,
right?
But that's what they do. That's the kind of basketball they play.
That's Thibodeau's philosophy.
Yeah, right. And
no doubt.
I went to look. I wanted to play under in Trae Young. I wanted to play a prop. I wanted to play the under the point total. But then I went to look at the total, what they had for Young. I said, I'm not playing under 25.5. I thought it would be closer to 30, and it was 25.5. And I said, no, I'm not playing it.
Well, that crew of guards, including one Derek Rose, if he gets assigned to him, and I'm sure he'll ask, Coach, when I'm in there, let me have him. Because he's the one who
rotate.
Made the
I want to know. Guards. I made a couple calls, Rob. You guys, I made a couple calls. I want to know who is going to be, in your opinion, do you have the intel? And if you don't, in your opinion, covering them every game, who is going to guard Trae Young? And every single answer, it won't be the same guy. It'll be this, and this, depending on it depends on what rotation is on the floor. And they have 3, and the Knicks really don't have. They don't have just 2 rotations. They have 4 or 5 rotations. He said that they use, depending on the opponent. So, I just didn't play under 25.5. I just couldn't. I couldn't push the submit button on that.
Yeah, because it makes total sense, Tony. Because where they're concerned, they're guard heavy. That team runs R.J. Barrett. The other kid who's Elfrid Payton, right? Those are the 2 starters, yes. Barrett and Payton. Yeah. Then you got Alec Burks. Then you got Derek Rose. Then you got Ntilikina. Then you have the other Emmanuel Quickly. They've got like 6 guards. So hopefully they just wear Trae Young out tonight, which is what I would. But if Rose gets that guard group together and says, this is how we defend this guy tonight, which is what I'm getting from that quote. That's exactly what I'm getting.
Me too.
He's the elder statesman. He's been a hell of a pickup. A lot of people thought Derek Rose, including myself, might have been washed. Not washed. He's a major threat.
Listen, I don't recognize Derek Rose. This is not the Derek Rose I knew when he played for Memphis, when he lost, when he couldn't hit a free throw in the championship game against that group of players who really the only player on that team was a guard that hit the big 3-point shot. And he played for a couple NBA championship teams in Miami under Spoelstra. Mm-hmm. That was that Kansas team, They weren't anything over the top, but they were a pretty typical Bill Self team. But that was I don't recognize him. Do you? He looks younger.
Player. Yeah, I mean he can't leap the way he did then. Yeah, for sure. But he's steady as can be, shooting wise, perimeter wise, and he even goes to the rim. I mean, he doesn't shy away from the rim either. Yeah. So, I guess I like the Knicks' chances tonight. I guess that, in short, is what I like.
Well, I like that. Listen, I really like the Knicks' chances as well. What I don't like, or what I didn't like, was the fact is that that was their game. I just thought the way they closed that in the final 2 minutes, some of the shots that was taken, one up Randall. I still think Randall believes, and he probably is right. He believes that he's the only one, that no one can do it better than he can. And sometimes when you get a player in that situation that believes that, despite the fact that they may be right, it's scheme wise and schematically and final results, it doesn't work out because they force something. And he did force a couple of those shots late in that game.
Yeah, I'm just pulling some notes here real quick, guys, because their idea off of that game would be, our comeback player of the year or whatever award he just won, Julius Randle, obviously was in the candidate for MVP as well. But our best guy went 6 for 23 in that game, and we were still ahead at the end, and we still should have won at the end.
That's right.
So if he plays at all tonight, better than 6 of 23, and the rest of them bring their same game.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Atlanta's probably, I mean, if we were choosing sides, guys, and we had the rosters on paper, I think we would choose Atlanta's talent.
Capella wasn't very good.
Yeah, I don't think they're used to being roughed up, Tone. That's what I think. They're more of a finesse team. And
what surprised me
up a little bit.
Did you, if I told you as the season went along, early in the year, Atlanta, there were some scheduling favors, but for the most part, there was a big difference. There was a differential between last year's defensive rating and this year's defensive rating for Atlanta. And I thought part of that was coaching, part of that was intentional, part of it was scheme, much like what Dallas wanted to do. They were the top rated. Listen, look at what Dallas was last year offensively. They were the best team, offensive team rating wise in the NBA, and they didn't do much. I mean, they did what they did, but. And then what they try to do, they said, well, listen, we're going to get better defensively. We're going to make this move. We're going to trade Curry or let Curry go, which I thought was, I fell out of my chair when I found they're going to let him go because I just didn't think they had a replacement for him. And they didn't need what we've come to find out. If Hardaway can shoot like he's shooting, he's fine. It works out just fine. But he didn't shoot that way or didn't have that kind of confidence or that kind of command. And he wasn't that assertive early on in the season. So I don't know what to say about that, but I will say this, and that is the Knicks are – I just don't – it's so hard for me. I typically I'm pretty confident in myself and my numbers and what I believe, but even though I like the Knicks, I don't feel very good about pushing a lot of money in on them. I just don't.
I love it, guys.
They go 0-2 at home. Then you got another huge series price adjustment, right? Atlanta up 2-0 going home. John, we watched them a lot, right? That Seth Curry trade that brought Seth to Philadelphia was in exchange for Josh Richardson, who went to Dallas because Dallas wanted to get better defensively. And Josh Richardson, at least last night, sewed up that game with 4 free throws because Dallas could not hit the broadside of a barn from the free throw line.
Look at that. They won that game. That's my first look. It's like they won this game, and they were horrible from the line.
Horrible.
So there's another team other than the Sixers that can't make free throws down the stretch?
Wow.
And it was your guy.
There are a few.
The Lakers.
Oh,
I live by that. I'll tell you right now.
Do too.
The Lakers, the King wants you watch him early in the game. He doesn't mind going line, but late in the game, he doesn't do any of the same stuff he does during the game. It's that fadeaway 3 that it's safe. I don't have to be embarrassed at the free throw line. I know it's harsh, and it comes as rough and tough news to those who believe that he's the best player in the world. But he doesn't want to go to the line late in the game. He doesn't.
Listen, we made fun of it on the show.
You did?
Fun at him. Well, the fact that LeBron James hits the deck. First of all, that Chris Paul hits the deck, right? Chris Paul, and guys come out and they kneel around him because there's something wrong. If Chris Paul's going to leave the game, there's something wrong. Then James hits the deck for the second time in 5 days, acts like he's, come get a stretcher for me. Paul picks him up with a bad shoulder. He pulls him up. And then James stumbles 4 steps and falls down again on the other side of the floor. And last night, look at their health. The Lakers win because Chris Paul's not right. And if he's not going to be right for the series, they've got it. Phoenix has issues. But I just, the example being James play acting, looking for the TV camera to come focus on him. The other guy who's tough as nails, he's only 6 feet tall. He's only 170 pounds. And he's the one that was really hurt. We saw it last night because the lefty, Cam Payne, had to play a lot of minutes at point guard last night, Cameron Payne, for that team. And they still almost won. To your point, Tony, James hits a three-pointer, right?
Yep.
He hit the three-pointer at the end, but they're up 6. It's not like they were already only up 1. Those situations where they're only up 1, he's not making that three-pointer, and he doesn't want to go to the line either. But up 6, drills it, puts him up 9. It's a big deal to everybody.
Big deal. It was a big deal. Was. Yeah. I'll tell you again. They're not. Listen, all those fans. If those are listening, I don't care. Right now, I wouldn't play your money on the Lakers to win this championship this year. Not your money, anybody's money.
Real quick, give me some credence or no credence to this.
Right.
That Staples Center is holding less fans than any other arena in the playoffs. The Clippers only have 7,500 in there.
They're only allowing 25%, I think.
Yeah, as opposed to everybody else attendance-wise who has 11,000 plus. Dallas is going to be full.
Yeah. Oh, I've already made that point. I'll give you some credence to that. I said it to the beat writer I was talking this morning. I said, listen, they got to go back to Dallas, and it's going to be filled to the rim.
And even louder because of it.
Oh, yeah. And my son pointed me towards Mavericks Twitter last night. And that fan base, now that they didn't think they had a chance in this series. Now that they're coming home up 2-0, that place is going to be insane for the next couple of games. So, they need to get at least one of them. But I think the Lakers, the point being, the Lakers are coming home to Staples now. And Staples is still only 7,500. I don't know what kind of a home crowd effect that has, really.
I don't think they have. I've never thought that anything. I didn't put, if anything, I put during the regular season this year, if I put 1 point on a handicap on a venue, I was probably stretching it. I just didn't think there was any. I just don't. I mean, I never thought that much of home court advantage in the NBA period anyway. Not like college. I just don't think of it that way at all. I don't. And I think this travel. That's the only thing I look at is travel. If you've been on the road for 2 weeks, that's different. If you got to live in a hotel room, although I didn't put much weight on it this year either, guys, because they weren't allowed to sneak out and go to strip clubs and stay out all night. Supposedly they're in their rooms, sleeping, resting. It certainly had to be more favorable for the road team than being in one of these, than being here at the Cheetahs until 7 in the morning.
Situationally, in the right situation, is home court now that these teams are picking up with attendance? Is it worth a half point, a point now?
Yes. I think maybe
in Dallas's case, it might be 2.5.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I will say this.
Adjusting, that's all.
I will say, tonight I expect these Philadelphia fans to be ugly.
Oiled up.
If this game's close at halftime, I expect them to be as brutal on Joel as they are on the Washington Wizards.
Yep.
Am I wrong?
It's their nature.
That's right. It is. Absolutely.
It's their nature.
Yeah, I'm quite certain that they've been brought up that's the Philly DNA, and they've been told, listen, we raise our children not by patting them on the butt and telling them you'll do better next time. We kick them in the ass and say you better do better next time, or I'm going to kill you. That kind of thing. That's how the children are raised. So what do you expect?
Embiid has a lot more rope with this fan base than Simmons does. I'll tell you that.
Embiid he has reason to. Yeah, I agree. Listen, but Embiid's changed. He's different. He went from being this meek guy in college, and he was meek. He was a meek player. He wasn't really physical. He wasn't the kind of guy that jumped up and down, look at me, never. And then he gets the NBA, and for the first, this year I think he's been better. Now he's married. He's got another kid. He's going to become less and less about me and more about team. I think it'll help Philly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys have followed him. I've quit following him to the degree I did follow him when he was a soccer player. Never played any basketball. And his first year at KU, at Kansas University, would be, if you look at some of the film of him, it's like, how did he get to where he is now? I'll tell you how he got there, and that's because, he was well tutored by Danny Manning, by the way. Those were the years Danny was a big coach at KU and Kansas, and because he's just that skilled, he's just that good of an athlete.
Yep.
Danny Manning did a great job. Listen, the Morris twins, you look at all those bigs that came out of Kansas, that's Danny Manning.
Yeah, well.
He doesn't he doesn't get a lot of credit for that, but it's Danny Manning.
Not rushing us.
Go ahead, buddy.
But in the next 5 minutes here, I have something at 6 o'clock. But it's always great to go as long as we do because it's productive and it's fantastic. But I'm going to start with a round the horn, and the agenda that I put on the YouTube page for the show. We covered every single point. Maybe not in the order I had it, but we got through every single one, and that's good. So we'll keep doing those little. Not little. I mean, we'll keep doing the bullet points that we're going to cover. That way, people know what we're going to talk about. So for my free pick is this, and I'm really still quite offended at Ski for telling that story and thinking it was funny about the other guy, and really I don't care. I mean, it is what it is. So here we are, Memphis at Utah. We're going to bet on favorites. The underdog has a win percentage between 50 and 60% on the season, which Steve Merrill gets. The underdog is coming off back-to-back upset wins, so it's like a regression type of thing. Pretty easy to understand, I think. 97 and 55 against the spread, 64% winning bets last 25 seasons. If a playoff game is involved, the favorite, which is the Utah Jazz, is 17 and 2 straight up for 90%. 14-4-1 against the spread for 78%, and that's based on the closing line. So this system says do not worry about the rising spread. It's covered 78% of the time in the last 25 playoff seasons. So my best bet is on the Utah Jazz. And as you can see, I released my first 10-unit NBA game of the month. Whoever he is has won 68% against the spread over the last 3 playoff seasons and hitting 67. I'm 8-4. And there's some really good information in this. I'm kind of proud of this report because I really took a long time doing it, because if somebody's going to buy something that's a 10-unit game of the month, then they better get their money's worth. And if it doesn't win, at least know why it did not win. These monster bets, and you don't raise your bet on a game like that. It's silly. You just bet the same amount you would on a 5-unit, maybe add a little sprinkle more because it's a 10-unit. And, they hit in the high 60s, as my record indicates, but that also means it loses 32% of the time. Yep. So use your head with these things. I always worry, that people go, oh my goodness gracious, 10 unit, 5%er. Wow, I'm going to have a great weekend. And then, what about the weekend when it loses? You got to think about barbecue on Memorial Day weekend. You got to think about getting beer, food, burgers, steak, the whole 9 yards. So be smart with the play, but I highly recommend you go get it. I think you'll enjoy the research, and I think you'll enjoy the game. So that was my plug. So Rob Vito.
Who's your play? You like Utah?
I like the Utah Jazz as my best bet for this show, and obviously it was the NBA angle of the game, or angle of the day.
There you go.
As presented by Joe Ranieri.
I think that don't we have NBA tip-off tomorrow, don't we, Rob?
We do.
Yeah.
I'll send a doozy.
Would you?
I would.
I'll bet on doozy.
Might even have an integral in it. Ben Simmons free throw shooting in nonlinear algebra.
Tomorrow's schedule of NBA is an interesting one. There's a game tomorrow, Rob and John, that fits criteria for me to be a 10. We only do there's certain levels. I have certain criteria, but it exceeds every single variable by leaps and bounds. Let me. I don't care. I'll just mention it. And that Milwaukee in a pick'em against Miami. If I tell you how I felt about Milwaukee the last game, Milwaukee-Miami, how I felt like game one was just if you break it down and you watched it, you guys watched it, but if you break down some of the numbers, some of the underlying numbers, it made no sense. The final score, who won, all those kind of things, who won, it made no sense. I mean, the fact is that Milwaukee won that game, and they were pathetic. They didn't hit, everything they did was wrong, and they still won. Now, obviously, it took a bounce or two of the ball the right way, but this is a number. For instance, tomorrow night, and we'll talk about it though tomorrow's show. I won't get too much tonight, but I really like tomorrow's card. It's a really interesting card because I think a convincing win by Milwaukee does wonders for Boots for this group of guys, the Bucks, who they are in the East, and makes them at least in my playbook, it makes it Milwaukee, Philadelphia. Are they in the same bracket? I'm trying to think now. Can they?
Philly doesn't have to play either of those teams,
right?
Brooklyn or Milwaukee's in Brooklyn's bracket.
See, it really makes a Milwaukee. So Philly is in Milwaukee's in Brooklyn's bracket.
Milwaukee will have to play Brooklyn.
Yes. Right. You see, it gives Milwaukee the boost they're going to have because at this point in time, it's, in my opinion, I don't care what you say, I don't care who it is. I only had 5 teams really, in truth, that I thought could win the championship. Period. I don't care who wins the first round; it doesn't matter anyway. Unless they're one of the 5 teams I think can win the championship. So that said, that's a big game for them, and this Phoenix LA game obviously is a pretty big game for Phoenix. It may not mean as much to LA. I think LA still believes that they could split. I think LA still feels like they can split at Staples in the next 2 games and take care of business. That's who that group is, especially LeBron. I don't think Phoenix is that group, and then the final game, and then the Denver-Portland game is interesting. It's interesting. The opening line was pretty interesting. Did you not find that interesting? I expected to see basically this be a game where it was a 1 and 2 points, no matter where they're playing. And that Portland opened up opened up to 3.5, and they're at 4. They're 4 across the board pretty much, and I don't imagine them getting any bigger than that. I can't fathom it, Rob or John, that they would.
Yeah. But
I like NBA playoffs a lot. I have always liked them, and I like regular season as much as most people don't. But I just enjoy the hell out of it. But the playoffs are something different, and I'm sad for a lot of the things that are happening to baseball. I'm doing a little column right now. Listen, baseball is in trouble, you guys. Major League Baseball is in trouble. The correlation, the dependence on home runs. For defense, listen, for teams defensively, the dependence that they have on strikeouts and the runs scored, the correlation between runs scored and home runs is ridiculous. Now, it's not ridiculous. It's not a correlation that's so overwhelming that the best teams in Major League Baseball have to hit home runs, score runs, because they do other things well enough that they score runs other ways, okay? But for the rest of the league, it's all home runs. The percentage, 40%, almost. We're reaching almost a 50% level where the way you score runs is home runs, and that's just not good for baseball. And the number of strikeouts, record-setting strikeouts, this is what it's done. It's made baseball difficult to pick up new fans because it's pretty. Listen, unless you like baseball chess like I do, and the things that happen inside of a game that I watch. When I saw games when I was a kid, you too, Rob. We saw games where there weren't strikeouts. There were no strikeouts in the whole game. Yeah. I saw a playoff game, a postseason game, not one strikeout, and that's unimaginable.
Long gone.
Yep.
Long gone.
It's ridiculous. And what
guys?
I'm telling you, it's bad.
I hate to. We're getting severe thunderstorm warnings
Oh man, I missed that. We don't have that here.
It's right outside my window, John.
We don't have that here, you know.
I was wondering whether it was.
Can you leave it? Can you point the camera out the window and leave yours on? And I'll just hang around. You guys go about because we don't get thunderstorms here. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's getting dark here.
On the blue dot.
You know, we went through monsoon season last year, John, Rob. 200, almost 300 straight days. We had no rain during the monsoon season. 300 straight days, no rain.
It happens out there.
I think Rob and I better get off the show. To be honest with you.
Oh, I just got a message. It says, "See ya. Good night."
Before we lose power.
All right, buddy. Hey, good luck tonight, guys.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks for the show. We still got to do it the right way. You know, on behalf of sportsmemo.com and Wager Talk and the Predictive PlayBook, let's all have a highly profitable night. Make sure you get over to sportsmemo.com and get that 10-unit play. I'm feeling better about it than I did at the start of the show. A lot of it has to do with what we talked about. I'm not giving away the play because we really didn't talk much about the game, so they'll figure it out. But go over and just buy it, and let's rock tonight. Mm-hmm. So for Predictive PlayBook, may all the wins be yours.